My name is Patty Paul, and the name of this show is Living Wisdom. Today, I'm happy to have my friend Lyn Eyman as a guest. Welcome to the show, Lyn.
Thank you, Patty.
Lyn is a well-known channel. She lives in Fountain Valley, California, and she's going to be channeling an unconditionally loving being friend of ours by the name of Dillon. Lyn and I have decided to allow most of the airtime for Dillon to share his insights and wisdom. And with that, I invite you, Lyn, to begin your channeling process. And as you do that, why, the credits will roll, and hopefully Dillon will be with us shortly after the... Lyn is just completing her process, and Dillon will be with us momentarily.
Well, hello.
Hello, Dillon. Welcome back. This is our second show that we're taping this morning, and it's wonderful again to have you here.
Oh, it is a pleasure and so much fun.
Showbiz. It's great, isn't it, Dillon?
It is indeed.
Lyn and I had been talking about the topic for this show and some issues that you might want to be talking about. And a beautiful one, a big important one, is soul retrieval, and also feeling of emotions and forgiveness and release in particular. So with that, the ball is in your court, Dillon.
Well, thank you, dear one. Soul retrieval. You ask, what the heck is that? Well, you do all know that you have souls and that you are basically a spiritual being in a physical body. And what you brought into this physical body when you came into this lifetime is often termed your soul. It is the part of yourself that goes from lifetime to lifetime. It is always learning, always there. It is your connection to God, to Goddess, to all that is. It is what they look at when they look at you. They look through your soul. Your soul is so important, and basically you all know that. You may not verbalize it, you may not think about it much, but you know when your soul has been touched. Great beauty feeds your soul. You know that. Great music, it touches something inside of you. That something is your soul. And your soul can be damaged. It can be hurt. It cannot be destroyed, but it can be damaged. It can, those who murder are totally damaging their soul. And those who murder repeatedly almost totally destroy their soul.
Is that what we know as a sociopath, who seem to have no remorse whatsoever for their actions?
You see in descriptions of people like that their eyes are dead.
Mm-hmm.
Your eyes are the windows of your soul. And you also, on the opposite side, and to turn the energy around from that focus, you see children, babies especially, who are born, and people look at them and they say, that's an old soul. They look into the eyes and they see wisdom where there should not be wisdom in a brand new baby. Why would there be wisdom? Because they are an old soul, and it's so much more visible at that age. As they grow, that very frequently is hidden, but it can be recognized. So that's kind of some of the ways that you think about soul in your everyday consensus reality? Well, the truth of it is that your soul is so much a part of you and so loving and giving that when a trauma occurs in your life, throughout your life, a piece of you stays where that trauma occurred and a piece of your soul stays with it. And soul retrieval is simply figuring out what that is and going back and finding and reclaiming, retrieving that piece of you and that piece of your soul to make you whole. And wholeness is, of course, what everyone needs to live successfully, fully, gloriously in this lifetime. And very frequently you will find people who will say they just don't have energy that they used to have, that they don't have enthusiasm for things the way they used to, that they just feel like they're not all there. And they're feeling that lack of themselves, that lack of wholeness. And what we're talking about today is how to retrieve that, how to get that wholeness back. It is a fact not only with traumas, but with major relationships that very frequently, when you are in an intense relationship, you exchange pieces of yourself, you exchange pieces of soul. Sometimes, unfortunately, if it is a very negative relationship, the other person will actually take a part of your soul.
How does that work? This is something I've not heard before, Dillon.
Well, let's say, for instance, that someone is in a relationship with an abuser, and that abuser actually grabs a part of the abusee's self, their soul.
Is it kind of like a siphoning effect?
Not like a long-term thing. It is more just a piece. For them to feel more powerful, they grab energy. And part of, when they take part of your energy, part of you, a part of your soul is there. And that needs to be retrieved. So, of course, we know we've piqued your interest about this.
Oh, yeah.
So what are the steps? The first thing to do to work on this whole issue of soul retrieval is to make a timeline. So get out a pad of paper and pencil and start writing down the major traumas in your life. Start out from birth to 10 years of age, and some of them will be anecdotal history, family history. The channel fell out a window down a fire escape and broke her back when she was 11 months old. Well, now she does not remember that, but it is family history. And so therefore that would be a trauma to write down on the timeline. And then 10 to 18, 18 to 25, and then after that about 10-year increments. And those major traumas, write them down. And then doing so, it's time to start doing the work. And the way you do that is you go into a meditative state. And we'll just assume that everyone knows how to do that, to make themselves relax more and more and more. And you want to go to what we term your safe place. And this is a beautiful place in nature. Perhaps there's water running, there's trees with the wind blowing through the trees, birds chirping. Whatever to you is a totally beautiful place in nature where you feel 100% safe. Nothing can come in there without your permission. That's why we call it a safe place. When you get there, you state your intention to work on this issue of soul retrieval. And you invite an unseen friend to be there with you. Now, if you have a guide that you work with, by all means invite them. Everyone has a higher self. Even if you haven't worked with them, you don't know them intimately, you can still invite them and they will come. And you can invite us and just say, Dillon, come, be with me in my safe place, and we will come. And let yourself feel our energy. Then you will ask whichever guide comes with you and us to take you back to the scene of that trauma. And we will do so. Let yourself feel it. Let yourself feel yourself going there. And then be there. As if you were in the middle of a play and you see all the set the way it was, exactly from what you remember or what you were told. And if it is just a historical thing, then as you imagine it would be, that's all right, that's good enough. And you see the trauma unfold. And as it is fading to black, so to speak, you will see yourself as you were then. And out of the corner of your eye, you'll see this slight movement. So you speak to that you that is there, that has been traumatized, and you tell them who you are, that you are them in the future, and you introduce your guide and us, and tell them that you've come to take them out of this trauma that they keep living over and over and over again. And oftentimes they will be extremely happy and run into your arms. Sometimes they're not so sure about this. What is this all about? And you need to kind of persuade them a little bit and tell them some of the wonderful things that you're doing in your life, that you want to do, and you need them to help you. So then when they are ready, excuse us, then you enfold them and bring them back. And that piece of their soul that you see out of the corner of the eye, just that little wavering form there, comes with them. And when it is completed, then you allow your guide and us to take you back to the safe place, and you just be with it, knowing that you have reclaimed that piece of yourself and that lost piece of soul. And you will feel things. It will bring up emotion, much emotion. There might be anger, there might be hurt, pain, various emotions. Let yourself feel them. Let yourself speak with the guide, speak with us about it, what it brings up for you, how things might be different now that you have that piece back, depending on the depth of the trauma. Then you can come out of your meditative state and understand you have done something important, something impactful on your life, on your reality. And let it be. Nurture yourself. Be kind to yourself. Let it unfold, whatever it is. Now, this emotion that has come up needs to be dealt with. And the most prevalent one that needs the most to be released is anger. And so we will give you some hints, some techniques to release anger. That is so taught to be suppressed that for some it is almost impossible. The first time the channel was told to yell, she physically could not yell. Could not. It was so suppressed in her lifetime that to express her anger especially, that she literally could not yell her anger. And finally, someone suggested that she yell into a soft pillow. So that she was able to do. And it releases so much to get that anger out of you. There are so many diseases in your world that are caused by suppressed anger, suppressed emotion. And that it's necessary to get it out, and yet so frowned upon, especially by women.
Oh, yes. Good girls smile and make daddy happy and don't ever get angry.
Yes. And men, they can punch things and it's all right. They can go play football. They can hit that baseball way out of the ballpark and release anger that way. Women do not have that channel as much as men. So that is one way, to yell into a pillow. Another is to go park your car somewhere isolated, roll up the windows and scream your head off.
I like to do that one on the freeway.
And another is to roll up a towel and use it as a whip to beat the end of the couch or something of that nature. And to do it physically like that is very releasing, very healthy for your physical body. Another way for those who just can't get there yet, and that is something to work towards, is to write it out. Write out that anger. And when you have done so, then it is good for you to burn it if possible. And if you can't do that, shred it up into 1.5 zillion pieces and flush them down the toilet. So various ways to release the anger. Crying is much easier for people to do, unless you're a male, in which case you can do the writing of the pain, the sorrow, and treat it the same way. So to get those emotions out and released is extremely important. Then the next step after that, of course, is the forgiveness. And there again, people have various ideas around forgiveness. And you need to look at your ideas and beliefs and attitudes about forgiveness. Do you think that to forgive means that it's all right what they did? Do you think to forgive means that you forget about it and you treat it as if it never happened? No. Figure out what it is you believe around forgiveness. And understand you're not forgiven the what. You're forgiven the why. If you have been abused or hurt by someone, they had a reason. Maybe they were abused as a child. It doesn't excuse it, but it gives you can forgive the why. The channel was abused. She knew through her work that her abuser was also abused as a child. Worse than what she had been. So it enabled her to not to forgive the what. The what was unforgivable, but to forgive the why. To forgive that little boy who was so hurt that they grew up to be the man who abused. it is so freeing. Can you just imagine for a moment how freeing it is to let go of that emotion and to forgive? When you don't forgive, then that tie is still there. You are still connected to that person who abused you. Why would you want to be? How much more freeing, how much more liberating to be cut off. So you retrieve the piece of yourself, your piece of the soul that is with it. You express the emotion that it brings up. You forgive the incident. All that energy is now available that wasn't before. You have freedom from the trauma that occurred. Take that freedom and think, what do you want to do with it? Freedom to. What do you want? Freedom to create something, freedom to be happier, freedom to allow more adventure into your life. And let that percolate, so to speak. And you will change, your reality will change. Now this is very much a process. It is work. Therefore, we advise very strongly that you don't do more than 3 soul retrieval works in one time period, a day. We would advise simply 1. But if you get to the point where all your major ones have been done and you're down to the minor ones, then you can do more. 2 or 3 at a time is all right. But understand the impact this is going to have. And of course, start out, put them in order of priority. You make your timeline so that you remember all those traumas. Put them in order of priority, doing the top one first and on down the list. And you will see a difference. And you will become more whole. And your energy will rise. You will just feel so different.
Your world really does change, your personal world, and even further out into the world, things begin to shift and change. I know from personal experience doing the kind of work you're describing, and you, Dillon, have been so helpful with me too, seeing the depth of some issues that I deal with and how to work with them in a similar way. So I can attest to the value of this kind of work.
It is very important for those who haven't done this sort of work before to let it happen. As you do this meditative work, you will be speaking with that part of yourself, that part of your soul. You will be speaking with us, with whichever guide you choose to be with you. Hear their voices in your head. Let it be okay what you hear. You're going to say, oh, I made that up. It wasn't them, it was me. No, believe. Hear what they say. Let it pop into your head and say, okay with that. It is a concept that takes some getting used to. A little bit of trust in yourself has to be developed, but trust yourself. You hear those voices. Let it be what needs to be. It is a process.
But with practice, it does get easier, I must say. And then as we see the results we know the truth of how this works and how we do change our reality when we change ourselves by healing these things. I've just gotten another time cue. We're running out of time again, Dillon. I want to thank you so much for being here. This is the second show we've taped today.
It has been our pleasure.
And for the people who may have tuned in late, Dillon is an unconditionally loving being friend who is channeled by Lyn Eyman, who is the human being sitting in this chair. And some time ago, I wrote a book by the name of A New Spirituality Beyond Religion. In one chapter of this book, I talk about the soul and the different faces of the soul, similar in content to what Dillon has referred to. I also talk in another chapter about the unseen friends, the kind of unseen friends who love unconditionally, such as Dillon, and as Dillon mentioned, the guides that are available to all of us. We all have a higher self. So with that, I want to thank the viewers for their attention, and I hope that they can use what has been offered here to help them heal the issues in their life and to have more fun and have more success. So for now, this is Patty Paul saying goodbye. You've been watching Living Wisdom, and see you next time.